Hey guys, this is Torno, and today we're going to be talking about fixing your mana base with one pretty simple enchantment, because I think that this is an important thing, especially for new players who haven't kind of built up huge stacks of the shock lands or any of the kind of non-tap lands, or even the tap lands and stuff. Building a mana base is something that is incredibly important, especially when you do kind of buy a precon, because the precons, they don't generally go really ham into the mana bases, which is perfectly fine for something that's a precon. However, it does end up meaning that that's one of the first things you want to kind of go through and upgrade. So before we get into that, I do want to remind you guys to subscribe. We're aiming to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of November. I know that's basically impossible. We've got one day to go. If we can hit 1,000 subscribers by then, I will be incredibly shocked. But we're going to be doing a giveaway once we hit 1,000, so make sure you do go over and sub. So the enchantment that we're going to be talking about is Spelunking. So this is a pretty cheap enchantment, 2 colorless, 1 green. For whenever it enters the battlefield, you get to draw a card with it for start. You get to play an extra land from your hand onto the battlefield. Now, if it's a cave, you're going to be able to gain 4 life. So that's, this part here is good, but it's not kind of integral. Drawing a card is good. Being able to play a land is good. If it's a cave, you get to gain 4 life, which is good. But most of the time, most people aren't going to be running kind of caves. Like, the only really cave that people are going to be running is like the old one, like the caverns and stuff like that. Which is that even a cave? I don't think it's like the Cavern of Lost Souls or whatever. I don't think that's even a cave. If you have a look at these are the caves here that we've got here. So, the Captivating Cave's not too bad. Cavern of Small, most of these aren't kind of really great options. The new kind of Discover lands, the Sunken Citadel's not awful. But, there's a few different kind of options in here, but we're not kind of focusing on that because that's not really important. I don't think most people are going to be running these lands, these caves, really. So this second part here is the most important part, though. Lands you control enter the battlefield untapped. This is incredibly important because, one, it means that you're going to be able to play basically every land untapped, which is really important when you think about the fact that, for example, the 3 mana, 3 different mana types within them. So let's say, for example, the Seaside Citadel. This is a pretty cheap card for you to be able to get, only 33 cents for the Doctor Who version, $1-ish. Like, you're looking at like $1 max kind of thing here. Like, the only difference is this one here, which is the foil. And this is going to be able to give you 3 different colors of it. However, the downside of it is usually that it enters tapped, and when it enters tapped, then you kind of end up kind of setting yourself behind because you've got to play it, but then you can't use it straight away. This is going to allow you to be able to use this straight away, which is really, really great. It gives you that option of kind of being able to do that. You've got some other stuff in here as well. So take, for example, the Casmado Roof Refuge here. This is going to enter, and when it enters, you get a life, which is good, but it enters tapped, which means you're not going to be able to use it. These are really cheap, really, really cheap to be able to get. And, the downside is that it enters tapped. You're going to be able to bypass that entering tapped, which is really nice. The Temple Garden here. This one's pretty expensive. This is one of the shock lands here. So the whole kind of upside of this is that it doesn't need to enter tap because you can pay 2 life. However, with this, you won't need to pay the 2 life to start with. And for a second, if you have this enchantment out, you don't need to be able to have this, Temple Garden, because any kind of green-white dual land is going to be fine for it. Obviously, these are pretty expensive up here. If you're looking at this kind of stuff, they're going to get reprints soon, which will be great. However, it is still rather expensive. Or, you've got the Razor Verge Thicket here, which is when it enters tapped if you control 2 or fewer lands. So you don't need to kind of worry about this entering tapped either, because, it's going to enter untapped no matter what. So I just wanted to kind of cover this because I figured it was a really important thing for kind of new players to. It's a rather cheap kind of price point here. If you can find room for it in your deck, then it's going to be good. If you don't want to go out and, spend on these really kind of some of the really expensive lands, then you've got the option of being able to have this. The issue is obviously having this this enchantment out. It's going to be something that's going to help accelerate you, which is really nice. It's green, so you know it's in the color to help you with that. One other option here you do have as well is the Tiller engine. This is rather cheap, only costing you 2. It is unfortunately like a actual creature though, so it's going to be more likely to get targeted, but it makes it so that whenever a land enters the battlefield tapped under your control, you get to untap your lands. So you get to untap your lands. From there, you could potentially either tap a, you know, tap one of the enemy, the opponent's kind of permanents if you wanted to, just tap them out, or you can untap your own lands. So you've got kind of the option there of keeping it untapped, similar to like the Spelunking here, or you've got the option of being able to just tap something from the enemy if you wanted to. So, you know, you've got 2 different kind of options in here. One that's colorless, one that's kind of, it's green, but you know, green's ramp. So getting a whole bunch of lands out is natural there. The other thing to kind of keep in mind here is that it says lands you control enter tapped. There are so many different spells that are in green that put out lands, even basic lands, tapped. Like, you know, you look at rampant growth or stuff like that, it's going to put the land out tapped. You've got the option here of being able to make it so it's not tapped, so you can just continuously ramp even harder. It's just ramp upon ramp upon ramp. It's like, you know, this is going to the monster trucks. You've got that much ramp there. But I hope you guys had a wonderful day, and goodbye.